All right. Look, I now want to move on to a story that I've had Ben chasing, and Ben sort of scratched his head and looked at me. Why are you so interested in this story? I think many New Zealanders many people around the world are interested in a guy called Ernest Shackleton. And in the age of heroic Antarctic exploration, which was often marked by Pyrrhic victories or people wandering out and sacrificing themselves in the snow, and often involved not getting to the South Pole, Shackleton and his exploits and the exploits of his crew, which was headed by a New Zealander, stand above all else. So I was excited to read the other day that Shackleton's polar medal has been secured by a museum in Christchurch and joins many other medals. And I really am, literally, I would go to Christchurch now to see this. And we're joined now by Francesca Eathorne, from the Antarctic Heritage Trust, which has done this wonderful sort of deal and secured this medal. Francesca, firstly, thank you very much for coming on the platform. It's a pleasure to have you with us. Okay. Firstly, tell me what this new treasure is that you have secured precisely.
Morning, Sean. Hopefully everyone can hear me okay. It's just a little scratchy my end.
That's all right.
So Canterbury Museum have acquired Sir Ernest Shackleton's polar medal, and this is incredibly significant because of the person that Sir Ernest Shackleton was, this incredible spirit of exploration, if you like, that I think the medal signifies, and the chance for it to be here in New Zealand for local audiences and international visitors to see, I think is a very, very exciting thing.
Right. You have quite the collection of artefacts and things associated with Shackleton and with polar exploration, don't you?
We do at Antarctic Heritage Trust because we care for Shackleton's only Antarctic expedition base. So there's around about 6,000 items that have been left behind in that hut in Antarctica, and we care for that as part of our larger collection. Now, Canterbury Museum actually have the largest heroic era Antarctic artefact collection in the Southern Hemisphere and one of the most significant collections in the world. So this is going to be such a jewel in the crown for them.
All right. How did you tell us? I always love these stories. How did you come to get your mitts on it?
Well, so what happened with Canterbury Museum is, and I think this is a really exciting way of how people's legacies can continue. So they are connected with a trust called the Edson Trust. So Mr. Arthur Harrison was a businessman in Blenheim, and when he passed away, he left a large bequest to be managed by the public trust. And the specific terms of that were that funds from that bequest, which was in the many millions of dollars, could be used to acquire objects for Canterbury Museum's collection. And I just think how excited would Mr. Harrison be today if he was to learn that his legacy was to enable the museum to acquire such a famous heroic age artefact. I think he'd be really excited about that. So that's how this all came about. The public trusts were able to acquire it through this money that was left for that purpose.
Not rude to ask, how much did they pony up for it?
Now, I don't know the answer to that. I understand that is confidential, but there was certainly a big process that had to be gone through. I understand that they did have to offer it for sale in the UK first before it could go to an overseas institution. That was all part of how.
So did it get passed in Britain?
I think it may have done. I'm not too sure of the details there, but it's pretty significant.
And who had the medal? Who was putting it up for sale?
So the buyer is apparently private, but what we know is that since Shackleton passed away in 1922, the medal has been in a private collection. And I understand that it's only actually been exhibited twice in London. So for the opportunity for Canterbury audiences to see it in 2028 when the museum opens, I think is going to be great. All
right. Now, who issued this medal and who else has got polar medals?
Yeah, great question. So it's actually quite an interesting story. So the polar medal was first instituted in 1904, and this was actually to reward or to honour Captain Robert Falcon Scott's successful first expedition down to Ross Island in Antarctica. And of course, we care for Scott's Antarctic base down there as well. Yeah. So this would have been awarded by the monarch of the time, so Edward VII, and actually the medal itself is this sort of unusual octagonal shape. And in my research, I actually found out that it was based on medals that were awarded in the 1850s for Arctic exploration. So on one side you have the monarch's head, and on the other side there is Scott's Discovery ship in Winter Quarters Bay with a sledging party in the foreground. So it's actually got an incredible amount of detail.
So this medal predates the later fame of Shackleton. He actually, I think, was sent home from that Scott exhibition unwell or something.
Yeah, that's exactly right. He was invalided home on the relief ship. So on the medal, you'll see 3 different bars. So the first one represents Scott's Discovery expedition when he was awarded the medal. Shackleton then got another bar on that same medal after his 1908 expedition to Antarctica on the Nimrod, and then a 3rd bar on that following the Endurance expedition, and that was in 1917. And many people will know the famous story of the Endurance ship.
One of the greatest, if not the greatest story of seamanship and survival and sheer will in the history of mankind, I think, personally.